Hi again, everyone. I hope you found the information so far really useful and it's helped to answer some of your questions. So it just leaves me now to go through some questions and topics that I'm sure you've all been thinking about and just would like a little bit more information on. So I'll just present my screen and then we'll get going. So what I want to talk to you about today is the transition to year 7 and all of the things that really make a difference to the girls. And of course, in year 7, there is a lot more independence for the girls than in their junior schools. So it is a big change and really a big change from how things work in the junior school. And if I'm honest with you, it's probably a bigger change for parents than it is for the girls. So, for example, in junior school, the girls are used to having one main teacher and they see the teacher all throughout the day. And of course, as parents, you will see that teacher at the beginning of the day and at the end of the day in the playground. So you're used to getting constant updates and being able to ask questions to the teacher. You get regular bulletins and regular communication from the junior school. Now, of course, in senior school, the girls have a lot more teachers, and in year 7, they do about 17 subjects, so they have about 17 different teachers, which of course can make the communication slightly more difficult. And of course, you won't have face-to-face contact every day with all 17 of those teachers. So it is very different for parents to have to get used to. So I want to go through some of the big questions that you might have and cover some of the topics that the girls sometimes worry about. So the first topic is all about communication. So as we've talked about, the junior school life is different from senior school life, so therefore the communication has to be different as well. And one of the ways that we try to communicate with parents is through school comms. So our junior parents will know this already because it's a similar system used in the junior school, but those new to the school comms is a system really that is an email into your email inbox with all the information that you need to know. We also have started this year doing a newsletter which comes out about once every few weeks, and that tries to have all of the summary of all of the different information you need for those few weeks, rather than us sending too many emails, because sometimes there's so much going on at school that we're in danger of sending you too many emails, and so hopefully a newsletter condenses that a little bit for your inboxes. The form tutor is also a great way for us to communicate with you. So the form tutor would see your daughter at the beginning of every day for tutor time, and she's really responsible for your daughter's progress and welfare as she goes through the school. So if you've got a question about anything, often the form tutor is the best place to start. And even if it's not about something to do with a pastoral concern, a welfare concern, the form tutor will be able to direct your question to the right member of staff and will be able to collate any responses for you. So they're definitely the best place to start. We also very much have an open door policy. Slightly more difficult when we're in coronavirus lockdown, but when we're back at school, all our doors are open to be able to for you to be able to pop in. So if you want to just pop to reception to come and have a chat, if you've got any concerns, we would really encourage you to do that. We'd encourage you to do that sooner rather than later so that we can iron out any issues, answer any of your questions, and then we can move forwards and help with whatever it is that you're concerned about. We'd much prefer to do that rather than things escalating. Firefly is also a really useful tool that we use in the senior school as well as the junior school. So Firefly is effectively our virtual learning environment, and you can see a screenshot of that on the computer now. So there's all sorts of different information for parents on there. There's copies of some of the letters that go out. There's details about enrichment, about sport, about exams, uniform. All the policies are on there as well. So if you've got anything you need to know, often Firefly is a good place to find that information. And also, you'll get a termly progress update for your daughter about how she's getting on. So sometimes that is a tutor evening or a parents' evening, sometimes that's a report, and sometimes it's a progress update with whether she's on or off track to meet her target grades. So there's lots of information to help you know where your daughter is at and how she's doing. The next set of information I wanted to talk to you about was the food offer in the senior school, because the offer is quite different to how it is in the junior school. So because the girls have much more independence, they also have much more independence about how and where and when they eat. So we do have a tuck shop and we also have a dining room, and these are both open at a range of times. So the dining room is open for breakfast, brunch, lunch, dinner and after school. And the girls can choose where and what to eat. And this is really useful because it allows them to plan their day to suit them and to fit with their lunchtime clubs. So, for example, the dining room is open at breakfast, where there's all sorts of foods available: cooked breakfast, cereals, pastries, pancakes, all sorts of things, healthy options, and the cooked breakfast. At break time, the girls can still get those breakfast items, but they're also able to get some snacks, so some salads and sandwiches and things that they can take away to eat as well. At lunchtime, there's a whole range of food, from salads and sandwiches and jacket potatoes to the cooked dinners, the chef's special and the theme bar. So one day it might be a curry theme bar or a burger theme bar. All sorts of things are on those theme bars. And the dining room is also open after school as well, for sandwiches and snacks for the girls to be able to take away before going to any clubs. Now, the reason we have so much flexibility is that the girls do have all sorts of different enrichment programmes that they need to plan around. So, for example, if they've got netball at lunchtime, they might decide that they don't want to have a cooked meal just right before netball. So they might decide that day to have their bigger meal at break time and just have a snack at lunchtime. Lunchtime is also quite late in the senior school. It's not till 1:30. So again, a lot of the girls decide to have a good meal at break time and then have a snack at lunchtime. So that just gives them lots and lots of flexibility. Now, the way that the dining room works is that you would load money onto an account for the girls, and the girls have a PIN number that they can use to pay for items. And if you're worried that that money is disappearing too quickly, you can find out what she's spending on her dining room account and get a list of all the things that she's been buying, so you can keep an eye on it. Now, as I mentioned, we do also have a tuck shop, and sometimes we're asked why we have a tuck shop that sells some crisps and some chocolate. And the reason for that is that we want to educate and empower the girls to help them to make healthy choices. And by not having a tuck shop and banning all of these foods, it actually doesn't allow them to be educated to make those sensible choices. Now, it does mean that sometimes in year 7, the girls will go overboard in the first term, and you may well see that money on her account going down fairly quickly. But as I say, we don't want to teach the children that there are bad foods, because obviously everything in moderation and making healthy choices is a much more important way of doing this. And the tuck shop is a great help in supporting us to teach this message. So please accept that they may well go overboard in the first term, but generally they calm down after that. I also wanted to touch on homework a little bit, because it's something that the girls often worry about when they move in to year 7. They're worried that they're going to get masses and masses of homework. Now, of course, with 17 subjects in year 7, then they could get a lot of homework. If they had homework in every subject, it would be too much. So our philosophy of homework is that actually the girls work really hard at school. They have a full day at school, they're busy all of the time, they're engaged in their learning, and actually they shouldn't therefore be going home and spending hours and hours on homework. So instead, the homework that we set should be meaningful, and it should be useful, and it should help to prepare them for the next lesson. So the work that is set in short, sharp bursts of focused time. So in year 7, the majority of homework that's set is just 20 minutes. And if they do 20 minutes without distractions, then that will be good, focused learning for that subject that will be helpful. So you may think that the girls need to do lots more and should be working a lot more on different subjects. But actually, please trust us to know what is set, and that meaningful and purposeful work is set. You can monitor the tasks on Firefly, so you'll be able to see exactly what work she's been set, and staff are asked to stick to the allocated homework timetable. So this is just an example of the list of tasks of one of the girls' Fireflies, and then what you can do is you can go into each of those tasks, and see the description of the homework. And of course, you can the staff can upload different PowerPoints or different resources that the girls will need for the homework. So you are able to keep an eye on those homework tasks. This is an example of the homework timetable. So for English, this is per week. That's one 20-minute homework a week. In maths, one 30-minute homework a week. And you can see there the differences in times and lengths for each of the different subjects. The real key when we're promoting homework is things like learning spellings is a really important one. Reading is important. Practicing maths questions is important, and learning vocabulary for their languages. So if the girls are at a loose end and you feel they haven't been doing enough, then those are good ones to be directing them towards. But otherwise, this helps to really set the foundations for their learning into the next lessons. And this is an example of a homework timetable. So they may well only get just 2 or 3 subjects a night of those 20 or 30-minute sessions. So it's only really adding up to an hour or so each night. And as we're talking about homework, that's very much linked to assessments, because their homework may be preparing for an assessment. And it's one thing that the girls can worry about when they come into senior school, because they want to try and do a really good job on the assessments. And it's something that they often worry about. So our approach at Nottingham Girls High School is that assessments should just be part of everyday learning. And we don't want the girls to worry about them, because ultimately they're just an opportunity for the girls to test themselves. And actually it's a great way for the teachers to see how the girls are getting on and to tweak their learning accordingly and their teaching accordingly. So we very much put emphasis on the fact that it's not the mark that's important for the homework and the assessments, but actually it's what they learn from it. And one of the most valuable parts of the assessment is actually going through it and acting upon the feedback and acting upon the targets that are set. So it's all very much based around a learning experience. So I don't want them to be worrying about assessments in the slightest. The learning should be fun, and assessments are just part of that learning process. Another thing that the girls sometimes worry about is rewards and sanctions, or the sanctions in particular. And what I would really urge is to say, don't worry about sanctions, because they're not a big thing. It's often the case that the girls worry about sanctions because actually they're worried about letting you down, or they're worried about getting in trouble at home. So the approach that we take at school when we're issuing sanctions is that it's completely normal to make mistakes, and everybody makes mistakes, and it's part of life to make mistakes. But what's important is about how you learn from those mistakes. So if there were minor incidents, they might get a sanction. And what would happen then is that perhaps the first sanction might be a verbal warning. If the girls continue to make similar mistakes, it might be that they would be asked to stay behind after the lesson just to help go over that piece of work or whatever it is that they'd made a mistake on, so that we can help them learn from that. Now, because sanctions are a minor thing, the majority of incidents we will deal with in school. So you wouldn't necessarily know at home that the girls have been issued with a sanction. But of course, if the girls continue to get sanctions and they're not learning from their mistakes, that's when we would contact home. And believe us, we will contact you if there is a problem and if we have any concerns. So, for example, one incident of forgetting homework would be dealt with internally. But after several times of the girls forgetting homework, we would contact home. And you are able to monitor how many sanctions the girls have got and how many rewards the girls have got on Firefly, as you're able to see all of that information on your daughter's dashboard. Now, you may know that all of the girls in the school have iPads, and in the senior school, the girls are able to take their iPads home with them. And that they're a really, really vital tool as part of teaching and learning and part of the lessons. So the girls keep the iPads with them all of the time, and they are able to take them home. The iPads have loads of resources on that are used in class, lots of apps that we use, and also most of the textbooks are on the iPad as well. And also there's an e-planner on the iPad. So rather than having a paper diary, they use the e-planner on Firefly to help them to organise their work. Now, sometimes there is a concern over the security of iPads and the use of the internet, but there are really strict restrictions in school as to what the girls can go on, and we can monitor their usage. I get emails every day flagging up any concerns of websites that girls have tried to get onto. And of course, all the websites of any concern are all blocked within school as well. You're also able to put restrictions on the iPads at home so that you can have similar conditions for the iPads when the girls are using them at home. And there is, on Firefly, there's a parent section on Firefly which shows you how to put these restrictions on at home. I'll just go through some of the things that will help you to be able to manage the iPads at home, but all of this is on Firefly for when you join us in September. So one of the things that I find really useful about the iPads is guided access. So if you find your daughter's on her iPad a lot of the time and you say, actually, I think you should put your iPad down now, and she says, but I need my iPad because my maths textbook is on my iPad, and you're actually concerned she's not really doing her maths homework, then you can use something called guided access. So what that allows you to do is to lock her into certain apps, and therefore you know that she's only using her maths textbook rather than actually being on the internet. So what you would just need to do is go to settings, and it's in the general section, and you just can turn the guided access on. As I say, all of this is on Firefly, so you'll be able to look this up if that's something that you want to do. And as soon as you switch to guided access on, if you triple click the home button, you can choose all sorts of restrictions to put in place using guided access. iOS 12 also has some really great features that will help you to be able to monitor her screen time and her usage, because it shows how many different apps she's been using and how many hours she's spent on each of those apps. And it allows you to set time limits for different apps and also enter some downtime where she's not allowed to use certain apps at certain times. So that's a really useful tip for just monitoring how much she's using her iPad. But we very much would support the following expectations at home. So, for example, setting time limits on how much she was using her iPad, and ensuring that she wasn't using her iPad just before she goes to bed, so she can have a break from screen time and a break from using the iPad. And of course, we would completely support no iPads, no phones over dinner, so that you can have a family dinner together. And we very much reinforce that at school with the girls, so that you don't have too much issue at home with the girls using their iPads inappropriately. So overall, the iPads are fantastic resources to use in school and at home, and to help with their learning. And with these extra tools, it's a great way for you to be able to have some say over the iPads to really help find that balance. So this is just the page on Firefly where you can get all sorts of IT support to help you with managing the iPads. So they're just a few things that over the years I've noticed that parents ask about the transition between junior school and senior school. And so they're the frequently asked questions that I thought I'd try and answer tonight. I'm aware I've thrown a lot of information at you, but I hope you found it useful. And it may well have made you think of more questions that you want to know the answer to. So as I said at the very beginning, if you want to ask any questions, please do drop us an email and we'll get back to you with the answers. And of course, there's other sessions with the induction days and with the calls to you that will help to answer questions in future. But otherwise, we're really, really looking forward to September, when we're back in school and we've got all the girls. We're really looking forward to welcoming them in Year 7. In the meantime, stay safe, look after yourselves, and take care.